Hello, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome back to English Made Easy. My name is Eleanor, and I am so happy you've decided to spend some of your time with us today.
And I'm David. It's truly a pleasure to be here with you all again. We know you have a million choices for what to watch and listen to, so the fact that you're here with us means the world.
It really does. For anyone who might be new here, stumbling upon our channel for the first time, our whole mission at English Made Easy is right there in the name. We want to help you learn English in the most relaxed, natural, and simplest way possible. We fundamentally believe that learning a language shouldn't feel like a chore or like you're sitting in a silent, boring classroom staring at a textbook. It should feel like you're having a fun conversation with friends, which is exactly what David and I are about to do.
That's the goal. We're here to take the stress and the pressure out of learning. Think of this less as a lesson and more as a chat where you just happen to pick up some really useful English along the way. Today, we have a topic that I think a lot of you are going to be really excited about. We're going to talk about a globally famous person. And we've chosen someone whose story is just incredible, the one and only Taylor Swift.
That's right. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a die-hard Swiftie, that's the affectionate name for her most dedicated fans, or if you only know one or two of her songs from the radio. Our purpose today isn't just to talk about her life story, it's to use her amazing career as a perfect example to teach you how to talk about famous people in English. We'll look at her journey from her very early days as a teenager with the guitar all the way to her current status as a true global superstar.
And as we go on this journey, we're going to encounter some fantastic vocabulary, some incredibly common phrases, and even a few idioms that native speakers use constantly without even thinking about it. The best part is we're not just going to throw these words at you and hope they stick. We're going to pause our conversation and we're going to break them down piece by piece. We'll show you what they mean, how to pronounce them correctly, and most importantly, how you can actually start using them in your own real-life conversations. We promise that by the time you finish this video, you'll have a deep understanding of how to use these new words. You'll know some of their synonyms, other words that mean something similar. You'll know when it's appropriate to use them, and you'll feel ready and excited to apply them in your day-to-day English.
And just one last little request before we dive in. Please speak with us. I'll be speaking at a natural pace with the normal rhythm of a native American English speaker, and I really encourage you to repeat the new words and phrases after me. Even if you're in a public place and you're just whispering to yourself, the physical act of making the sounds with your mouth will build muscle memory and help your pronunciation and your confidence so much. Are you ready to get started?
I think we're ready. So, Eleanor, to kick things off, let me ask you a general question. Are you the kind of person who actively follows famous people? Do you keep up with celebrities and what they're doing?
That's a really great question to start with, David. I'd say I'm not obsessed by any means. You won't find me reading celebrity gossip magazines, but I am definitely interested in people who are masters of their craft. That's a phrase you hear sometimes, a master of their craft. It just means someone who is exceptionally skilled at what they do. Whether it's an actor who can transform for a role, an athlete who performs at the highest level, or a musician who creates incredible art. I find their journeys and their dedication really fascinating. What about you?
I think I land in a very similar place. The gossip and the drama don't really interest me, but when someone achieves an extraordinary level of talent and success, I pay attention. It's inspiring to see what humans are capable of. And that's a perfect lead-in to Taylor Swift. You really can't have a conversation about modern music or even modern culture without her name coming up. She's just a phenomenon.
She really is, and her career has had such a unique and interesting path, full of twists and turns. I think a good place to start is right at the very beginning. It's almost hard to believe how young she was when she started. She was just a teenager from Pennsylvania who convinced her entire family to move to Nashville, Tennessee. For our listeners who might not know, Nashville is the absolute heart of country music in the United States. It's the city you go to if you want to be a country star. and she went there completely determined to make a name for herself.
That is a perfect phrase to start with, to make a name for oneself. It's so common and so useful.
It really is, isn't it? It's ideal for when you're talking about someone's ambition or the start of their journey to success. Let's take a moment and break that one down for everyone. When you make a name for yourself, it means you become famous or, perhaps more importantly, well-respected in a specific field. It's the process of going from being an unknown person to someone people recognize and admire for your work.
So it's not just about being famous like a movie star, right? It could be a brilliant scientist who makes a name for herself by making a groundbreaking discovery, or a local baker who makes a name for himself by baking the best bread in the city.
That is a perfect way to put it. It's about achieving recognition through your skills and your hard work. It implies effort. Let's talk about the pronunciation. It's not four separate words. In natural speech, it all flows together. Listen, make the name. The K sound at the end of make links right into the A, make-a. Let's try the whole phrase, to make a name for yourself. To make a name for yourself. Repeat after me, to make a name for yourself.
And for synonyms, you could use simpler phrases like to become well known or to become famous. But I feel like to make a name for yourself has a stronger feeling of personal achievement. It sounds like you were the driving force behind your own success.
I completely agree. It has a wonderful sense of accomplishment baked into it. For example, you could say, after years of practicing every single day, the young violinist finally made a name for herself in the world of classical music. Or, bringing it back to Taylor, she moved to Nashville with the singular dream of making a name for herself as a country singer-songwriter. And she was just a budding artist at the time.
Ooh, budding. That's another great adjective.
It is. It's a lovely word. When we describe someone as a budding artist, or a budding writer, or a budding scientist, we mean they are at the very beginning of their career, but are already showing a lot of talent and promise for the future. Think of a flower bud. It's small and not fully formed yet, but you know it's going to grow into something beautiful. That's the idea.
So it's a very hopeful and positive word. You wouldn't use it to describe someone who has been famous for 20 years. It's specifically for someone who is new and promising.
Exactly. It's all about potential. Let's look at the pronunciation. It's a simple two-syllable word, budding. Bud-ing. Budding. The stress is on the first syllable, bud-ing. Can you say that with me? Budding.
A good synonym would be promising or up and coming. For example, the gallery is featuring an exhibition of several budding young painters from the local art school.
That is a perfect example. So, back in Nashville, Taylor was this budding songwriter who had a real knack for writing catchy melodies and relatable lyrics.
Let's pause there. To have a knack for something, that's an idiom we use all the time.
Yes, if you have a knack for something, it means you have a natural skill or talent for it. It's something that comes easily to you, maybe without you even having to try very hard. It feels like an innate ability.
So you could say, my brother has a real knack for fixing computers. He never even read the manual, but he can figure out any problem. Or, she has a knack for making people feel comfortable and welcome.
Those are great examples. It's a very natural-sounding phrase. The pronunciation is interesting because the K at the beginning of knack is silent. We don't say knack, it's just knack. So the whole phrase is to have a knack for something. To have a knack for something. Let's say that together. To have a knack for something.
A good synonym would be to have a talent for, or to be naturally good at. For instance, you could say, Taylor Swift always had a knack for storytelling in her songs. And that was so evident on her first album, which is self-titled, just called Taylor Swift.
It was. That album came out when she was only 16 years old, which is just incredible to think about. It was pure country music. The songs were all about high school life, first crushes, feeling like you don't fit in, themes that were incredibly relatable for so many young people.
Relatable. That's a word we hear everywhere now, and it's a really important one for understanding her early success.
It is. If something is relatable, it means you can understand and connect with it because you have had a similar experience or feeling yourself. When you listen to a song or watch a movie and think, wow, that's exactly how I feel, that piece of art is relatable to you.
It creates a strong emotional connection between the artist and the audience. They feel seen and understood.
Precisely. Let's practice the pronunciation. It has 4 syllables. Re-lay-ta-bull. Relatable. The stress is on the second syllable, lay. Relatable. Let's say it together. Relatable.
A good synonym could be understandable, or you could say that you can identify with it. For example, even though the movie is about a king from centuries ago, the themes of family and betrayal are still very relatable to a modern audience.
And her music was so relatable that it really struck a chord with a huge audience. And her debut album was a huge success in the country music world. But it was her second album, Fearless, that was her true breakthrough moment.
Ah, Fearless. That album was absolutely massive. And that word you used, breakthrough, is essential when you're telling the story of someone's career.
It is. A breakthrough is a sudden, dramatic, and important discovery or development. It's the moment when you push through a barrier and achieve a whole new level of success or understanding. It's a turning point that changes everything.
So it can be a scientific breakthrough, like the discovery of penicillin, which changed medicine forever, or it can be a career breakthrough, like an album or a movie that takes an artist from being moderately successful to being a global superstar.
That's the exact meaning. Let's get the pronunciation right. The stress is on the first syllable, breakthrough. Breakthrough. Pay attention to that TH sound in through. It's a soft sound made with your tongue just behind your top teeth. Through. Now say the whole word with me. Breakthrough.
For synonyms, you could talk about their big break or a major turning point. But breakthrough has a powerful feeling of overcoming obstacles to achieve something new and significant. For example, after years of small roles, that critically acclaimed film was the actor's big breakthrough.
And in our case, the album Fearless was Taylor Swift's commercial breakthrough, winning the Grammy for Album of the Year and making her a mainstream star. And she was the youngest person in history to win that top award at the time. It was a monumental achievement. The whole world was suddenly paying attention to this very genuine and down-to-earth young woman.
I'm glad you brought up that phrase, down to earth. It was such a huge part of her public image at that time.
It really was, and it's such a positive and wonderful way to describe someone. If you say a person is down to earth, it means they are practical, realistic, and very approachable. They don't have an inflated ego or act like they are better than other people, even if they are incredibly rich or famous.
It's the complete opposite of being arrogant, pretentious, or snobbish. A down-to-earth person is someone you feel like you could have a normal, easygoing conversation with, no matter how successful they are.
Precisely. It implies a sense of humility and being grounded. Now, for the pronunciation, this is a compound adjective, so it's made of 2 words joined by a hyphen. The stress is pretty even, but maybe a little more on earth. Listen, down to earth. Down to earth. Notice how the words link together. Down to. Let's say it slowly. Down to earth. Now at a natural speed. Down to earth.
A good synonym would be humble or unpretentious. Someone who is not pretending to be something they are not. For instance, you might say, even though the CEO is a billionaire, she's known for being very down to earth and always eats lunch with her employees in the cafeteria.
What a perfect example. And in Taylor's case, her fans felt she was so down to earth because she wrote these incredibly honest songs and shared videos of her life on tour. It didn't feel manufactured or fake. But that era of massive success is also famous for something else, isn't it? A moment that was much more dramatic and uncomfortable.
You have to be talking about the 2009 MTV Video Music Awards. The infamous Kanye West incident.
Oh, of course. It's a moment that's really burned into pop culture history. She had just won the award for Best Female Video for her song You Belong With Me. She was on stage, just 19 years old, trying to give her acceptance speech, and Kanye West famously jumped on stage, grabbed the microphone right out of her hands, and declared that Beyoncé should have won the award instead. It was absolutely shocking to watch. He completely stole her thunder.
He really did. And that idiom, to steal someone's thunder, is just the perfect description for what happened in that moment. It's one you'll hear quite often in English.
It is, and it has a really interesting origin story. It supposedly comes from the theater world way back in the early 18th century. A playwright named John Dennis invented a new machine to create a very realistic sound of thunder for his play. His play wasn't a success, and it closed quickly. But soon after, he went to see a production of Shakespeare's Macbeth at a rival theater, and he heard his exact thunder sound being used. He was furious and supposedly shouted, "They will not let my play run, but they steal my thunder." And the phrase just stuck.
That's an amazing story. I never knew that. So when you steal someone's thunder today, it means you take attention away from their special moment or their big announcement, usually by doing or saying something more dramatic or by announcing your own news right before they can announce theirs.
That's the exact meaning. It's about diverting the spotlight. Let's practice saying it. The phrase has a nice flowing rhythm. Steal her thunder. Steal her thunder. The core of the idiom is steal the thunder, and you can change the pronoun. You can steal his thunder, my thunder, or their thunder. Let's say the full version from our story, to steal her thunder.
Some similar ideas might be to upstage someone or to take the spotlight away from them. For example, if you were at your birthday party and about to blow out the candles, but your cousin suddenly announced she was engaged, you could say, "Wow, way to steal my thunder."
It was a deeply uncomfortable and awkward moment, but in a strange way, it had an unintended consequence. It generated a huge wave of sympathy for her. It made her look like the victim of a bully. And she handled the situation with grace.
Ah, that's another nice phrase. To handle something with grace.
It is. It means to deal with a difficult or awkward situation in a calm, polite, and dignified way. When you show grace under pressure, you don't get angry, you don't panic, you maintain your composure and your dignity.
It's a sign of emotional maturity, really. It's easy to be nice when things are going well, but how you act when things are difficult says a lot about your character.
That's a very wise way to put it. Let's look at the pronunciation. To handle something with grace. To handle something with grace. The key word here is grace. Grace. It's a single syllable word with a long A sound. Let's say the phrase together. To handle something with grace.
Some similar ways to say it would be that she handled it with class, or she dealt with it very maturely. For example, when he was unfairly fired from his job, he handled it with grace and didn't speak badly about his former boss.
And that's what many people felt about Taylor. This experience and a lot of others about growing up in the public eye became the inspiration, the fuel for her next album, Speak Now. And this album was a major statement from her.
It really was. What was so significant about Speak Now was that she wrote every single song on the album entirely by herself. There were no co-writers at all. It was a direct response to some critics and cynics who were suggesting that a teenage girl couldn't possibly be writing such sophisticated hit songs. She basically said, "Oh yeah? Watch this." She was an incredibly prolific songwriter.
Prolific. Now, there's a fantastic, slightly more advanced vocabulary word. It is the perfect adjective for describing a highly creative and productive person. If someone is prolific, it means they produce a very large quantity of work.
So you can have a prolific author who writes dozens of books, a prolific director who makes a movie every year, or a prolific inventor who has hundreds of patents. It's about producing a lot.
Exactly.
It implies a great abundance of output, often of high quality. Let's work on the pronunciation. It has 3 syllables: pro, lif, ic, prolific. The stress is on the middle syllable, li. So it's prolific. Let's say it together. Prolific.
A simpler synonym would be productive, but prolific sounds more impressive, I think. It's often used specifically for artists and creators. For example, the famous author Stephen King is known for being incredibly prolific, sometimes publishing multiple books in a single year.
And it fits Taylor Swift perfectly. Even as a teenager, she was a prolific songwriter with a catalog of hundreds of songs before she was even 20 years old. The storytelling on that album was so clear and detailed. She has a real talent for painting a picture with words.
That's a beautiful idiom, to paint a picture with words. It's such a descriptive phrase in itself.
It is, isn't it? It's a metaphor, of course. It doesn't mean you're literally using paint. It means to describe something so vividly and with such specific detail that the person listening or reading can create a very clear image in their mind. They can almost see, hear, and feel what you're describing. Good novelists and lyricists are masters of this.
It's all about using strong, descriptive language, using sensory details. What did it look like? What did it sound like? What did it smell like? To make the scene come alive for the audience.
Exactly. The pronunciation is quite simple, but let's say it to get the natural rhythm. To paint a picture with words. To paint a picture with words. The phrase flows very smoothly. Let's try it together. To paint a picture with words.
There isn't really a perfect single-word synonym for this because it's an expressive idiom. You could say to describe something vividly or to be very descriptive, but to paint a picture with words is just so much more poetic.
It is. You could be telling a friend about your amazing trip and say, "Let me try to paint a picture with words for you. Imagine a sky so full of stars it looked like spilled diamonds on black velvet." For Taylor, you could say, her song Mine really paints a picture with words of a young couple falling in love and building a life together.
After the success of Speak Now, she released the album Red. And this is where her career started to take another interesting turn. It wasn't a straightforward country album anymore. It had songs that were clearly pop, some with rock influences, even some with electronic sounds. It showed that her style was really evolving.
Evolving. That is the perfect verb for the situation. To evolve means to develop and change gradually over a period of time. We often hear this word in a scientific context, like the theory of evolution, but we use it all the time to talk about how people, careers, artistic styles, or even ideas change and grow.
So, a person's taste in music can evolve from when they are a teenager to when they are an adult. A company's business model can evolve to adapt to a changing market. It's all about this idea of gradual, progressive change.
Yes, the gradual part is key. It's not usually a sudden overnight transformation. Let's practice the pronunciation. It has 2 syllables, evolve, evolve. The stress is on that second syllable, volve, evolve. Let's say it with me, evolving.
Good synonyms would include developing, changing, or progressing. For example, you can see how the artist's painting style has evolved over the decades, from dark and serious to bright and playful.
And for Taylor, with her album Red, her musical identity was clearly evolving from a pure country artist into someone who was exploring the world of pop music. This was an exciting move, but also a risky one. She was beginning to dip her toes into a new genre.
That's a great idiom, to dip one's toes into something. It creates a very clear mental image.
It does. Imagine you're at a cold swimming pool or the ocean. You're not sure if you want to jump all the way in, so you just put your toes in the water first to test it out. That's the meaning of the idiom. It means to start doing a new activity or having a new experience very cautiously and slowly to see if you like it before you commit to it fully.
So it's the opposite of diving in head first. It's about being careful and trying something out in a small way. For example, someone who has always worked in an office might dip their toes into entrepreneurship by starting a small online shop on the weekends.
Exactly. It's a low-risk way to explore something new. Let's say it together. To dip one's toes into something. To dip one's toes into something. The flow is very natural. To dip one's toes into something.
A similar way to say this would be to try something out or to experiment with something. For example, on the album Red, Taylor started to dip her toes into pop music, collaborating with famous pop producers. And because of this experimentation, the album was seen as a bit of a mixed bag by some people.
Yes, a mixed bag. That is another incredibly useful and common idiom in English. If you describe something as a mixed bag, you mean that it has a combination of very different elements, including both good and bad parts.
So, if a friend asks you how your weekend was, and you had a really fun Saturday, but a very boring and stressful Sunday, you could say, it was a mixed bag, really. It's a way of saying it wasn't all good or all bad, but a combination of the two.
That is the classic use of the phrase. It communicates complexity and a lack of uniformity. Let's say it out loud. A mixed bag. A mixed bag. It's pretty straightforward to pronounce. Let's say it. A mixed bag.
A similar phrase might be, it had its pros and cons, or it had its ups and downs. For example, the new software update is a mixed bag. It has some great new features, but it's also much slower than the old version.
And applying it to the album Red, you could say, for many music critics, the album Red was a mixed bag. They praised her brilliant songwriting on the ballads, but were less sure about her experiments with electronic pop. But that evolution, that mixed bag, was a crucial stepping stone. It was leading her somewhere huge. It was leading directly to her next album, 1989, which was a full, complete, and unapologetic pop album. She was completely reinventing herself.
And that is a huge, often terrifying step for an established artist to take. Reinventing oneself. That means to change your image, your style, or your way of doing things so completely that it's like you become a new person or a new artist.
It's a very deliberate and often very risky choice. You risk alienating your original fan base, the people who loved you for who you were in the first place.
Let's quickly touch on that word, alienating. To alienate someone means to make them feel isolated, or to make them feel like they no longer belong or support you, often because you've changed.
Yes, it's a powerful verb. Alienate. Alienate. The stress is on the first syllable. Alienate. So by moving to pop, Taylor Swift risked alienating her country music fans. But this reinvention was a calculated risk. It was about starting a completely new chapter in her career.
We see it with many famous people. The pop star Madonna is probably the most famous example of an artist who has reinvented herself successfully many, many times over her long career.
She is the absolute queen of reinvention. Let's focus on the phrase itself, to reinvent oneself. The key word is reinvent. Re-in-vent. Reinvent. The primary stress is on that final syllable, vent. Reinvent. Let's say the whole phrase together, to reinvent oneself.
A synonym might be to transform oneself, or to start over with a completely new image. For instance, after the scandal, the politician tried to reinvent himself as a humble family man.
And for Taylor, this reinvention was not just a success, it was a resounding success.
Resounding success. That's a strong collocation, meaning those words often go together.
They do. The word resounding means loud, clear, and unmistakable, like the sound of a bell echoing. So a resounding success is a huge, undeniable, and complete success that everyone can see. It's not a small victory, it's a massive one. For example, The new product launch was a resounding success, selling out in the first hour.
So with 1989, Taylor Swift's reinvention as a pop artist was a resounding success. That album was so enormous, with global hits like Shake It Off and Blank Space, that it truly cemented her status at the top. She was no longer just a famous singer. She became a household name.
I was just about to say that exact phrase, a household name. That really is the ultimate level of fame, isn't it?
It truly is. Let's explain what that means. A household name is a person, a brand, or a product that is so famous that almost everyone knows of them. They are known in virtually every household in the country or even the world.
Exactly. Brands like McDonald's or Nike are household names. People like Queen Elizabeth, or in this case, Taylor Swift, are household names. You don't have to provide any extra information or context. The name alone is enough for almost anyone to understand who you're talking about.
It's a sign of true cultural saturation. Let's practice saying it. Household. Name. Household. Name. The stress in the first word is on the first syllable. House. Hold. Let's say it together. A household name.
A similar way to express this would be extremely famous or universally known, but a household name is such a common and natural-sounding idiom in English. You could say, after that one iconic role in a blockbuster movie, the previously unknown actor became a household name virtually overnight.
And it's the perfect description for her at this point. The monumental success of the 1989 album and its world tour made Taylor Swift a household name in every corner of the globe. Her music was now ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous. What a brilliant word. It's a bit more formal, but so useful. If something is ubiquitous, it means it seems to be everywhere at the same time. It's extremely common and ever-present.
So in today's world, you could say that smartphones are ubiquitous, or that the English language is becoming increasingly ubiquitous online.
Perfect examples. It's a great word to describe something that is impossible to avoid. Let's look at the pronunciation, because it can be a little tricky. It has 4 syllables. Ubiquitous. The stress is on the second syllable. B. Ubiquitous. Let's try that one slowly together. Ubiquitous.
A simpler synonym would be everywhere or omnipresent. For example, during the holiday season, the sound of Christmas music is ubiquitous in every shop and public space.
And in 2014 and 2015, Taylor Swift's music was absolutely ubiquitous. She was at the absolute peak of her career. She was, without a doubt, at the top of her game.
Another fantastic idiom, to be at the top of one's game.
Yes, it means to be performing at the highest level of your ability. You are at your peak. You are doing the best work of your career. It can apply to anyone, an athlete, a surgeon, a musician, a business person. It means you are currently the best you've ever been.
So it implies a current state of excellence. You wouldn't say it about someone whose best years were long ago. It's about being at the peak right now. For example, the tennis player is 35 years old, but she is still at the top of her game and winning major championships.
Exactly. The pronunciation is simple and flows well. To be at the top of one's game. To be at the top of one's game. Let's say it. At the top of her game. Taylor had navigated the incredibly difficult transition from a teenage country star to an adult pop icon, something very few artists managed to do successfully. She had reached the absolute summit of the music industry. But as we all know, when you're on top of the mountain, the winds can be very strong, and the only way to go is down. Or is it?
That's a very dramatic way to put it, but it's true. After reaching this incredible peak, her story takes another sharp turn. She faces public criticism, media backlash, and some very public feuds.
And then she disappears from the public eye completely for about a year. It was a very deliberate and strategic silence.
Which, of course, just made the entire world even more curious and desperate to know what she would do next. It was a masterful move in hindsight. It built up an incredible amount of anticipation for her eventual return. And when she did return, it was with a sound and an image that no one was expecting, the Reputation era. But as we were saying, when you reach that level of fame, the spotlight becomes incredibly intense. After the 1989 era, Taylor Swift faced a lot of public criticism and became involved in some very high-profile conflicts with other celebrities. The media narrative around her started to change. So after being one of the most visible people on the planet for years, she did something shocking. She completely disappeared.
It's true. She just vanished from public life. No interviews, no social media posts, no paparazzi photos, nothing. For about a year, the world was just wondering, where is Taylor Swift? It was a very deliberate decision on her part to lie low.
That is the perfect phrase for it, to lie low. It's an idiom that means to intentionally stay out of public view and avoid attracting attention, usually because you want to avoid trouble or you just need a break from a difficult situation. Think of it like a submarine going under the water to avoid being seen.
That's a great metaphor. So a politician might lie low after a major scandal, or a company might lie low after a big product failure. It's a strategic retreat from the spotlight.
Exactly. It's about making yourself quiet and invisible for a period of time. Let's practice the pronunciation. It's very simple and smooth. Lie low. Lilow. Both words have a long vowel sound. Let's say it together. To lie low.
A good synonym would be to keep a low profile, or simply to stay out of sight. For instance, you could say, after the intense media attention, the actress decided to move to the countryside and lie low for a few months.
And that's precisely what Taylor Swift did. And the reason she needed to was because everything she said or did at that time was being put under a microscope.
Oh, that is such a vivid and useful idiom, under a microscope.
It is, isn't it? It means to be watched and examined extremely closely and critically. Imagine a scientist looking at a tiny organism through a microscope. They see every single tiny detail, every flaw. When a person is under a microscope, it means the public and the media are analyzing their every move, their every word, waiting for them to make a mistake.
It sounds incredibly stressful. It's not just being watched, it's being judged for everything you do.
It's exactly that. The pressure must be immense. Let's say the phrase, under a microscope. Under a microscope. The rhythm is natural. The main stress is on microscope. Let's say it together. Under a microscope.
A good synonym would be to be under intense scrutiny, or to be closely watched. For instance, you could say, as the new CEO, he knew that all of his decisions would be under a microscope for the first few months.
So, Taylor was living under a microscope, and this led to a significant backlash against her.
Backlash. That's a powerful word, and one we see a lot in news headlines.
It is. A backlash is a strong, widespread, and negative reaction to a person, an event, or a recent development. The back part of the word is key. It's like a wave of negative energy coming back at someone. It's not just one or two people being critical, it's a large movement of public opinion turning against something.
So a company might face a backlash for an offensive advertisement, or a government might face a backlash for a new unpopular law.
Those are perfect examples. Let's check the pronunciation. It's a compound word. Backlash. Backlash. The stress is clearly on the first syllable, backlash. Let's say it together. Backlash.
A good synonym would be to strongly negatively react, an outcry, or public condemnation. For instance, the celebrity faced a huge backlash after his insensitive comments were posted online.
So after a year of lying low, Taylor returned. And when she came back, it was with the album Reputation. This album wasn't an apology for anything. Instead, she used it to hit back at her critics and the media.
That's a great phrasal verb, to hit back at someone. It sounds very forceful.
It is. To hit back at someone means to retaliate, to attack or criticize someone who has attacked or criticized you first. It's a defensive action, but it's an aggressive one. You're not just defending yourself, you are fighting back with your own words or actions.
So it's about not staying silent in the face of criticism. If a newspaper writes a negative article about a company, the company might issue a strong statement to hit back at the accusations.
Exactly. It's a confrontational response. Let's say it. Hit back at. Hit back at. It's a quick, punchy phrase. To hit back at.
A good synonym would be to retaliate or to strike back. For example, in the debate, the candidate hit back at her opponent's claims, calling them lies.
And the album Reputation was her way of hitting back. The sound was dark, electronic, and aggressive. The themes were about fame, betrayal, and how your public image can be twisted. It was a completely different Taylor Swift, and the album was very polarizing.
Polarizing. That is such a useful adjective to describe something that people have very strong and opposite opinions about.
It is. If something is polarizing, it means it divides people into two opposing groups, like the North and South poles of the Earth. There is very little middle ground. People either love it or they hate it.
So, a controversial movie can be polarizing. A political leader can be a polarizing figure. It's anything that causes strong disagreement.
That's the perfect definition. Let's check the pronunciation. Polarizing.
Polarizing.
The stress is on the first syllable, polarizing. Let's say it together. Polarizing.
Synonyms would be divisive or controversial. For example, the new architectural design for the city library was extremely polarizing. Residents either found it brilliant or hideous.
And that was the album Reputation. Her dedicated fans loved her loyalty and strength, but some critics and casual listeners found the new sound and attitude jarring. It was a far cry from the sweet, down-to-earth country singer they first met.
I love that idiom, a far cry from. It's a great way to express a huge difference between two things.
It is. If something is a far cry from another, you are emphasizing that they are very, very different. It's not a small difference. It's a massive one.
So you could say, this cold, rainy weather is a far cry from the sunny beach we were on last week. It highlights the strong contrast.
Exactly. It paints a picture of great distance between the two things being compared. Let's practice saying it. A far cry from. A far cry from. The rhythm is quite musical. Let's say it. A far cry from.
A simpler way to say it would be very different from, or nothing like. For example, his new, quiet lifestyle is a far cry from his wild party days in college.
And the dark, defiant image of Reputation era was a far cry from her earlier work. But after that album cycle and a massive stadium tour, the darkness began to lift. She seemed ready to shake off that heavy reputation.
To shake something off. That's a very descriptive phrasal verb. You can almost see the action.
You can. The literal meaning is to make a quick movement to get something off of you, like shaking water off your hands, or a dog shaking off water after a swim. Figuratively, it means to get rid of something negative that is bothering you, like a bad feeling, a negative image, or even a minor illness.
So if you have a bad day at work, a good friend might tell you, go for a walk and try to shake it off. It means don't let it continue to affect you.
That's a perfect use of the phrase. It's about actively trying to free yourself from a negative state. Let's say it. Shake off. Shake off. It's a simple two-word phrase. To shake off.
Good synonyms would be to get rid of or to overcome. For instance, it took the team a while to shake off the disappointment of losing the final game.
And after the dark themes of Reputation, Taylor Swift seemed ready to shake off that image and start with a clean slate.
A clean slate, another fantastic idiom.
It is, and it has a lovely meaning. If you start with a clean slate, it means you are starting a new situation without being disadvantaged by past mistakes or problems. It's a completely fresh start. The image comes from old-fashioned schoolhouses where students wrote on small blackboards made of slate. To start a new lesson, you would wipe the slate clean.
So all your previous mistakes were literally erased. That's a powerful metaphor. Moving to a new city where nobody knows you can feel like starting with a clean slate.
It's the ultimate new beginning. The phrase is very common when talking about relationships or careers. Let's say it together. A clean slate. There is a very clear, crisp sound to the phrase. A clean slate.
Good synonyms would be a fresh start. For example, after he was released from prison, he was determined to start his life over with a clean slate.
And this clean slate was her next album, Lover. It was the complete opposite of Reputation. It was bright, colorful, and full of romantic, happy songs. She was really wearing her heart on her sleeve.
That's such a classic idiom, to wear one's heart on one's sleeve.
It is. And it means to be very open and transparent about your emotions. You don't hide your feelings, you show them for everyone to see. The origin is thought to come from the Middle Ages, when a knight would tie a lady's token, like a handkerchief, around his arm or sleeve to show his affection and who he was fighting for.
So his heart, his affection, was literally on his sleeve for everyone to see. That's a beautiful origin. A person who cries easily at movies is someone who wears their heart on their sleeve.
Exactly. It describes someone who is not afraid to be emotionally vulnerable. Let's say the idiom. To wear one's heart on one's sleeve. It's a longer one, so let's focus on the flow. To wear one's heart on one's sleeve.
A simpler way to say it is that someone is very open about their feelings. For instance, I always know how she's feeling. She really wears her heart on her sleeve.
And the Lover album was full of this open-hearted emotion. It was also more thoughtful and introspective than some of her earlier pop music.
Introspective. That's a great adjective. It sounds very thoughtful.
It means exactly that. Introspective means characterized by introspection, which is the process of looking inward to examine your own thoughts, feelings, and motivations. An introspective person is someone who spends a lot of time thinking about who they are and why they do things. An introspective album is one that explores these deeper personal themes.
So it's the opposite of being superficial. It's about self-examination.
Precisely. Let's work on the pronunciation. It has 4 syllables. Introspective. Introspective. The main stress is on the 3rd syllable, spec. Introspective. Let's say it together. Introspective.
Good synonyms would be reflective, thoughtful, or self-analyzing. For example, the author's memoir was a deeply introspective look at her struggles with fame.
And after Lover, the world changed. The COVID-19 pandemic hit, and like everyone else, Taylor Swift was in lockdown. And then in the middle of this global crisis, she did something no one expected. Completely out of the blue, she released a new album called Folklore.
I remember that day so clearly. It really was out of the blue.
It's a perfect idiom for a complete surprise. If something happens out of the blue, it happens suddenly and unexpectedly, without any warning at all. The metaphor is of something suddenly appearing in a clear blue sky, where you wouldn't expect anything to be.
It really captures that feeling of shock,
Like if an old friend you haven't seen in 20 years suddenly shows up at your door, they have arrived out of the blue.
That's a classic example. Let's practice saying it. Out of the blue. Out of the blue. In natural American English, the T in out often becomes a soft D sound, and the words link together. Outa. Out of the blue. Let's say it smoothly. Out of the blue.
Synonyms would be unexpectedly, suddenly, or without any warning. For instance, I was just sitting at my desk when, out of the blue, I got a call with a job offer.
And the album itself was just as surprising as its release. It wasn't a pop album at all. It was an indie folk alternative album. The sound was very stripped down.
Stripped down. That's a great compound adjective to describe a style of music or design.
It is. If something is stripped down, it has been reduced to its most basic, essential parts. All the extra, non-essential elements have been removed. In music, a stripped-down song might only have an acoustic guitar and a voice, instead of a huge production with drums, bass, and synthesizers.
So it implies a sense of simplicity and honesty. A stripped-down version of a story might just be the basic facts without any extra descriptive language.
That's a great way to think about it. It's about getting back to the core of something. Let's say it. Stripped down. Stripped down. The T sound at the end of stripped is very soft. Stripped down.
A good synonym would be minimalist or basic. For example, for the performance, the band played stripped-down acoustic versions of their biggest rock hits.
And this move to a stripped-down folk sound was a major pivot for her career.
Pivot. That's a word you hear a lot in the business world, and it fits perfectly here.
It does. A pivot is a significant change in strategy or direction. The word comes from the idea of turning or rotating on a central point. In basketball, a player can keep one foot on the ground, the pivot foot, and move the other to change direction. In business, a company might pivot from one business model to another. It's a strategic shift.
So it's more than just a small change. It's a fundamental change in how you're doing things while still keeping your core identity.
That's a brilliant way to explain it. Let's look at the pronunciation. Pivot. Pivot. The stress is on the first syllable. Pivot. Let's say it. Pivot.
Good synonyms would be a shift or a change in direction. For example, the company made a successful pivot from selling books in stores to selling them online.
And this pivot to folk music was a huge departure from her glossy pop albums.
A departure from. That's a very natural and slightly formal way to talk about a change.
It is. A departure from something is a change from what is normal, expected, or what has been done in the past. Think of a train departing from its usual route. It's going in a new direction.
So if a director who only makes comedies suddenly makes a serious horror movie, you would say it's a huge departure from his usual work.
Exactly. It signals a break with tradition or a previous style. Let's say it together. A departure from. A departure from. It has a very nice professional sound to it. A departure from.
A simpler way to say it would be a change from or a deviation from. For instance, the artist's new sculpture, made entirely of plastic, is a real departure from her usual work in bronze.
And what was also a departure was her songwriting. For the first time, she was writing songs about fictional characters and stories, not just her own life, and she deftly wove these complex narratives together.
Deftly. That's a wonderful adverb.
It is. To do something deftly means to do it in a way that is very skillful, clever, and quick. It implies a light and expert touch. A skilled magician performs a card trick deftly. A talented chef deftly chops vegetables.
It suggests both speed and skill, effortless expertise.
That's it exactly. The pronunciation is simple. Deftly. Deftly. The stress is on the first syllable. Deftly. Let's say it together. Deftly.
Synonyms would be skillfully, expertly, or adroitly. For example, the politician deftly avoided answering the difficult question.
And just a few months after Folklore, she released another surprise sister album, Evermore. It was clear she was in a period of incredible creativity. But another major story was happening at the same time, the fight for ownership of her old music.
Right. The master recordings of her first 6 albums were sold to a person she did not want to work with. This meant she didn't own her own original work, so she decided to take matters into her own hands.
A powerful and important idiom, to take matters into one's own hands. This phrase means to take action and deal with the problem yourself because the people who should have dealt with it have failed to do so.
It implies a sense of frustration with the system and a decision to act independently. If your neighborhood has a litter problem and the city isn't doing anything about it, the residents might take matters into their own hands and organize a community cleanup day.
A perfect example. It's about seizing control of a situation. Let's say the phrase, to take matters into one's own hands. Take matters into one's own hands. It's a long one, but it flows very well. To take matters into one's own hands.
A similar phrase would be to take control of the situation. For instance, when the manager failed to solve the conflict, the employees took matters into their own hands.
And her solution was brilliant. She announced she would re-record all 6 of those old albums so she would own the new versions herself. This move showed incredible business acumen.
Business acumen. That's a fantastic, professional-sounding phrase.
It is. Acumen is a word that means the ability to make good judgments and quick, smart decisions. So, business acumen is a natural talent for understanding and dealing with business situations in a clever and successful way. It's more than just being smart. It's about having sharp instincts for business.
So a successful entrepreneur who has built a company from nothing must have great business acumen.
Without a doubt. Let's look at the pronunciation. Business acumen. Business acumen. The stress on acumen is on the first syllable. Acumen. Let's say it together. Business acumen.
A synonym would be business sense or business shrewdness. For example, she has amazing business acumen. She turned a small startup into a billion-dollar company.
And by re-recording her old albums, she was revisiting the very start of her career. In a way, she had come full circle.
To come full circle. That's a beautiful idiom about journeys.
It is. It means to go through a long series of changes and experiences only to end up back at the starting point, but with a new perspective. It's about returning to your roots, but as a different, more experienced person.
So if a famous chef opens a new restaurant in his small hometown where he first learned to cook, you could say he has come full circle.
That's the perfect way to use it. It signifies the completion of a long journey. Let's say it. To come full circle. To come full circle. It has a nice round feeling, just like the meaning. To come full circle.
A similar idea would be to return to where you started. For instance, he began his career as a journalist and, after years as a politician, has come full circle by returning to writing.
And the entire re-recording project was seen as a masterstroke.
Masterstroke. That's a strong word.
It is. A masterstroke is a single action, a move, a decision, a tactic that is incredibly skillful and clever and proves to be very successful. It's that one brilliant move that changes the game. It's often used to talk about strategy in games like chess, in business, or in politics.
So it's like a stroke of genius, but in the form of an action.
Precisely. Let's say it. Master stroke. Masterstroke. The stress is on the first syllable. Masterstroke. Let's say it together. Masterstroke.
A synonym would be a brilliant move or a stroke of genius. For example, the general's decision to attack at night was a military masterstroke that won the battle.
And all of this leads us to where we are now. After the folk albums and the re-recordings, she released Midnights, another record-breaking pop album. And then she launched the Eras Tour, a massive global tour celebrating her entire career. It feels like the culmination of everything she has ever done. Her journey shows that a career isn't a straight line, but a series of changes, reinventions, and comebacks. Do you agree with our take, or do you see her story differently? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We would love to read them.